In fact, I think we use all the colored pencils, so if you want to grab those out too, you can. And then I'm going to get my life together right now. Here we go. All right, a histogram is, we're going to write our definition, and then we do have a glue in. Okay, it's a way to represent numerical data so we're representing numerical data with numbers that uses bars, like a bar graph, but it's not a bar graph, it's a histogram, but it looks like one because it uses bars, and equal intervals. By equal intervals, we're saying that we're counting by something. Okay, so that's kind of a long definition, so make sure you get that written down. Harun, where's your notes? Yeah. You need paper? Okay. Hassan, where's your notes? Oh, that's right, because you only got a space for your notebook, right? Sebastian, notes. Come on, man. All right. A way to represent numerical data that uses bars and equal intervals. Big thing here is that a histogram shows frequency. Okay, frequency is how often something happens. Or like how many times does it happen? How often it happens or how many. All right, make sure you get that written in, and then there is a glue in. You can glue it either on the left or the right side, depending on how you prefer your notes. And then as you glue this in, if you want to find some colored pencils, we're going to use colored pencils, especially with the second example. So look at this while we work on it so you know what it looks like. You want to look at this while we work so you know what it looks like. Alright, so go ahead and get this glued in either on the left or the right side. I know that was a lot of writing. I wrote kind of fast. That way you have some time to finish writing it. Okay, glue this in left or right side. Keep saying that. And then take out colored pencils. All right, so we have one problem that it's already drawn a histogram for us, so we're just going to identify some information, some statistics from that histogram. And then we have one that we're going to create a histogram for. So notes shouldn't take us too long. It's pretty, I don't know, I wouldn't say self-explanatory, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay, especially those of you that have worked with bar graphs before, this is really similar to bar graphs. It's just a little bit different. So it's numbers instead of categories. All right, so first off, what is this first one telling us? What is it talking about? Cherry trees, black cherry trees. They bloom in the spring, and we're talking about their heights. How are we measuring their height? Good, and feet. And then we have our frequency. So this might be like a woods full of black cherry trees, or a grove, or maybe a black cherry orchard, where we have black cherry trees, and we're measuring the amount of cherry trees that are in each. So in our height here, we have 60 to 65 feet. That's a tall tree. Okay, so how many trees were in between 60 to 65 feet tall? Close. It's in the middle of 2 and 4. So what number would be in the middle of 2 and 4? 3. We can't really have half a tree be that tall, so it'd be 3. Okay, 65 to 70 feet, how many? 3. So go ahead and go and label the rest of the bars. How many are in each of these? Okay, so 70 to 75 feet. How many trees are in the between those? What'd you get, Nick? 8. Good. Look at you paying attention today. So proud of you. All right, 75 to 80 feet. How many trees are in there? What'd you get there, Gavin? 10. Good. All right, this one's a little tricky. You might need to use like a straight edge here. Some people said this one was 6. This one is actually 5. It's in the in-between. Good. Especially once it gets further away, sometimes using a paper or a ruler to kind of show where it is. This one is 2. All right, so we're going to do 3 questions with this one. First one we're going to do is the maximum and the mode. What is the maximum height of a cherry tree? When we look for the maximum, we're not looking for how many trees was our biggest interval. We're looking at what was the highest height. How tall did it go to? 90 feet. Now, here's kind of the weird part with frequency tables, or frequency and histograms, is we don't know if these 2 trees are 90 feet. These 2 trees are somewhere between 85 and 90. So we don't actually know if the tallest tree is 90 feet. It could be 87 feet. It could be 86 feet. But we know it's between 85 and 90. So our maximum, we actually get a range here. We're going to say the interval. It's between 85 to 90 feet. Which makes sense when we're talking about trees. Trees continuously grow, so it might make more sense not to give us an exact answer. But the highest amount of trees, or the tallest trees, are somewhere between 85 to 90 feet. All right, now our mode, which one has the most trees in it? Between what and what?
75 feet.
Good, 75 to 80, because that has how many trees in it? 10. Okay, and then we're going to answer one question here of how many trees are shorter than 75 feet. How many trees are shorter than 75 feet? So if you want to use a colored pencil or a highlighter for this one, you could. So we're looking for shorter than 75 feet. So what intervals would that include that are shorter than 75? Yeah, first off, here is 75, so if I want to kind of highlight where that 75 is, I'm looking shorter than that. So am I just looking for 70 to 75? Nope. Does the 65 to 70 work? Yeah. And 60 to 65? Yep. So it's everything in between, or anything lower than that 75. So I'm going to take those 3 bars and we need to put them together. We're combining them. So I'm going to add those 3 bars together that are lower than 75, shorter than 75. So 8 plus 3 plus 3. Try that one more time. You're right with the 4. 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. And what are we measuring 14 what? Trees. All right, so histograms are really nice to show those intervals and to kind of show us that mode, like how tall do most trees get. Most trees are kind of between 70 to 85 feet. That's kind of where the most of the chunk is. If we want a wider range, if we want a more specific range, we could go down to 75 to 80. But these shorter trees, there's not as many, and then once it hits 85 feet, it really drops off. There's a lot fewer trees there. Okay, so this works well if we have information that we're looking for in intervals that we don't need specific numbers. Like I said with that maximum, we don't know if the maximum tree is actually 90 feet. We know it's somewhere between 85 to 90, which in this case, most of the time when we talk about trees, that's plenty of information. We don't need to know exactly it's 86.2. Based on this histogram, I can find my mode. Can I find my median? What the middle number would be? We could a little bit. We know this is 3, 2, so I need to go one more, then I'd have 4 and 3. It'd be a little bit more complicated, but again, for the median, we would get an interval between what and what. Can I find my mean? Can I add up the numbers and divide by the number there are? Do I actually know the specific numbers? No. So this one we can't find the average. Again, we could find the average using just what intervals they're in, but we can't actually find what the average tree is, where it ends up. So things with histograms are really nice to be able to kind of see trends, see what's happening, be able to kind of categorize things, but histograms are not super great if we need to know specifics. Okay? Versus dot plots yesterday, we were able to know those specific numbers. And stem and leaf plots, we were able to know those numbers a little bit better. Okay, histograms, once we look at a histogram, we can see the amount in each category, but we can't see individual. All right, so we're going to make a histogram here. First thing that we need to do is make a frequency table. So I'm going to put that kind of actually off to the side here, because then we're going to do our histogram down here. It's kind of goofy. So the first thing we make is a frequency table. That's going to help us create a histogram. So I need to figure out what we're going to count by. What's our intervals going to be? In this last one, the intervals were 5. It's 5 feet each time. So as I take a look at car weights, usually the best way to figure out intervals is by looking at our least to greatest. Our minimum and our maximum. What is our minimum car weight? 835. What is our maximum car weight? Yeah, 1,735. So I'm going from about 800 to about 1,700. So should we count by 1s, 2s, 5s, 10s, 100s, 500s, 200s, 1000s? What would make the most sense to go from 835 to 1,735? Should we count by 1s? No, that's insane. Okay, so for sure, probably by what? At the very least by 50s. Hundreds would be a good one. Should we count by 200s? We could. Or we could count by 500s is starting to get a little too big, because then we would just have 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 1,500, and then 2,000. We'd only have 4 bars. So we should either do 100s or 200s. What do you guys think? 100s or 200s? Cool, you guys didn't say anything, so I'm going to do the one that takes more work. We're going to do 100s. So our lowest number is 835, so I'm going to go to the 100 below that. I'm going to start at 800. And then we're going to count up by 100. So 800. Yeah, did you fill it pass? Yeah. 900, 1,000. And then we do need to go all the way up to 1,800. Okay, and the reason why we need to go to 1,800 is because we have a number that's between 1,700 and 1,800. So we're going to have to decide where that goes. So when you create a frequency table, here, sorry, some of you are still writing. Gotta chill. Chill, Miss Nora. When we create the frequency table, sometimes we can do tallies if that works. If you like to look through and you'd rather just tally how many there are going left to right, you can do that. Or you can write the number. Okay, I personally like to do the numbers because that's just easier for my brain. And what we're going to do is next to this 800, we're really putting in the number of 800 to 900. So, again, I'm going to use colors here. When I look at 800, how many numbers are in the 800s? And we're not thinking rounding, we're just saying what's in the 800s. Yep, just 835. So how many cars are in between 800 and 900? 1. Okay, then I'm going to my 900s. How many numbers are in my 900s? Just 1. Okay, if I go to my thousands, this one is just 1,000, no 100, so just the 1,000 and then like 20 or 1,030. So 10 something something. Looks like we have a 1,045 and a 1,050. So that one we have 2. Okay, we're not going to have enough colors for everything, so I'm going to pause for a moment. 1,100, do we have any 1,100s? Nope, so I'm not going to do color for that one because that's just going to be 0. Okay, 1,200. Do I have any 1,200s? Yep. How many? 2. 1,277 and 1,287. Okay, any 1,300s? Nope. Okay, 1,400s? Yep. So even though 1,490, even though that's something that we would round up to 1,500, these are intervals. So we're not rounding. We're just saying anything between 1,400 up to 1,500. And we have 2 numbers that are in that interval. So 2. Okay, 1,500. None. 1,600. Yep, we have 2. And 1,700. We have 2 in between. And then 1,800. There's none. And then I've got orange here for the 1,600. And then I'm just going to use pencil lead for this last one because I'm out of colors. You could also use highlighters if you wanted to instead. So if you have a pink highlighter, you could maybe use pink or a different color. I don't know. But I'm going to just do like these dark boxes here. Alright, so now we're ready to create the histogram. This tells us how the bars are going to work, how many go into each bar. So I'm going to create my histogram down here in this space. Okay, I need, what's the highest frequency we go to? 2. So I really only need to go up to 3 maybe at the most. So that I'm going to make it like this. So my frequency is 0. Frequency always goes on the y-axis. So it's our bar, kind of like that bar graph there, 0. I'm going to just make this line, my notebook line 1, my next notebook line 2, and then the top one 3. We aren't going to use the 3, but sometimes it's nice to go one above. And my label for this is frequency. That's the how many. And that's where frequency will always go, always on that y-axis. Okay, along the bottom is going to be our weights. And how are we labeling our weights? What are we measuring in? Yeah, kg. What does kg stand for? Kilograms. Good. Okay, and then below on the bottom here, we're going to have these numbers, the numbers we listed. Now, I rate a little bit bigger, so I'm going to do kind of like what we did on that number line yesterday. I'm going to do 800, and then I'm going to do a little tick mark for 900. But I'm not actually going to put 900 there, because I'll run out of space with my writing, and I want it to be nice and neat. So I'm going to do 800, a tick mark, and then the next tick mark would be 1,000. So this still represents 900. I'm telling my reader that that's 900, but I'm just labeling every other. So then I have 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400. And I need to go all the way up to 1,800. Even though we had none in the 1,800, that's where it ends, in between the 17 and 18. So 1,500, 1,600, 1,700, 1,800. Okay, if you labeled each one, that's fine. I just wasn't going to be able to fit it all in nicely. It would have looked really, really scrunched. Okay, and then we just fill in the bars here. When we do the bars, there's no spaces between the bars. Again, for some reason, people are very adamant that that is a big thing about histograms, is that we don't put a space between the bars. Okay, so first one we have is 800. 800 to 900 had 1. So for the 800, I'm going to go up to the 1, draw over, and then where this line is, I draw up to that. So there is my 1, and it goes all the way to that line. Okay, if you want to color code it with that green, you can. So now when I draw the next bar, I don't need to draw a new vertical line. It just starts right there. So now I have 900 is 1, so 900 to 1,000. Just drawing over and down. So my bars should be sharing this middle one. Okay, 1,000 to 1,100 is 2. So again, I'm using this same line, but it does need to go up to 2 this time. Now 1,100 is a 0, so I don't need to do anything with the 1,100 to 1,200. So we are going to leave a space there because the space means that there's nothing there. And we do have a nothing. We have 0. So 1,200 is 2. $1,400 is 2. So again, we're skipping the 300 space. So we are putting space in there because there are zeros. That's the only reason we use space in histograms, is for a 0. Okay, and then we have 1,600 is 2. Okay, and then our last one is 1,700, and it does go to that 1,800. That's why we need that 1,800, is so that the bar can end. I'm doing that one with pencil lead, shading it in with gray. All right, we're missing one part, and then we are done with our histogram. There's one thing that we don't have as part of our histogram. What is it missing? Yeah, the title. What is this about? Car weights. I don't need to put the kg here because I put the kg down here. I just need the overall title. What is this about? It's about car weights. Okay, your quick check today is really short.